Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Windwitch Yugioh deck profile. This is the update for the month of August 2024. Wanted to update the various decks we have for the different dimension counterparts for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 series. Figured I'd start off with Yuzu's dimension counterparts and go with the updates to Windwitch. We've already had new Melodious support, so we've got Yuzu taken care of, but then we'll look at Windwitch, and then we also have Luna Lights and also Lyralus, which have been, overlooked throughout the different formats, but Windwitch are definitely one that I would say could also use some new support. So until we get that support, we'll go with what we have for the deck available. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. Now, for the Windwitch monsters, I'm missing a few monsters here and there because there's mostly just a core engine and not the full deck that I put together for it. So for some of the placeholders, I'm using Wind the Wind Chandler, which is a very good wind searcher for the deck to begin with anyway. So for any spots that have that in the deck, but I do want to run 3 copies of Windwitch Ice Bell. If you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. Then you can special summon 1 Windwitch monster from your deck, but it cannot be tributed. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra turn you activate this effect, except for level 5 or higher wind monsters. And if the turn you activate this effect except level 5 or higher wind monsters, and if this card's normal or special summon, you can inflict 500 damage to your opponent. You can only use each effective Ice Bell once per turn, but it's that setup to grab another Windwitch monster, which definitely does help with this non-tuner in the deck. We also run 3 copies of Windwitch Freeze Bell. If all monsters you control are Windwitch monsters, minimum 1, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only use this effect of Freeze Bell once per turn. Once per turn during your main phase, you can increase this card's level by 1. And a Wind Synchro monster that was summoned using this card as synchro material cannot be destroyed by battle. So the main card to summon off with this, and let's say our Ice Bell on the field, or you need the tuner as well, don't forget, which our tuner would be our Windwitch Glass Bell, having the special summon. Since you can add it off of your Glass Bell, you can then have the level 7 synchro right then and there using those monsters, or you can increase the level of Freeze Bell to then go into Windwitch Diamond Bell, having both of those options available to you with this monster on the field. And then also for some of the other 3-ofs in the deck, we once again want to run 3 copies of Glass Bell, but I just have the Wind the Wind Chandler as the placeholder for this spot right here. It's normal summon or special summon. You can add 1 Windwitch monster from your deck to your hand, except for Windwitch Glass Bell. Also, you not special summon for Lester's turn, except for wind monsters, which our entire extra deck are wind monsters. So really no restriction for our extra deck summons that we can do in the deck. But also just being able to grab a card off of this card means we can go for our next card, which is our Windwitch Snowbell, another 3 of copies, with this level 1 tuner. If you control 2 or more wind monsters and no non-wind monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. A wind synchro that was summoned using this card's material cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. So this is the bigger way to go into cards like Windwitch Winterbell, have your Snowbell on the field, and then use those 2 cards to be able to summon out some of our bigger boss monsters like Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, and then having it so it can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects makes it all the more difficult to get around. And lastly, for the Windwitch monsters, 3 copies of Windwitch Blizzard Bell. If you control no monsters or all monsters you control are Windwitch monsters, you can normal summon this card without tributing during your opponent's main phase. If you control a Windwitch monster other than Blizzard Bell, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard to inflict 500 damage to your opponent. You can only use this effect once per turn, but it could be another normal summon tuner setup. And then if you have the Freeze Bell in your hand, Freeze Bell and Blizzard Bell together can be the combination needed to also summon out the Diamond Bell to the field, having the level 3 non-tuner and the level 5 tuner. And then I also run a small Speedroid package in the form of 3 Terratops, the 1 Tekken Tomborg, and the 1 Red-Eyed Dice, just with the special summon power you have in the form of Terratop, being able to then search out the other cards. The level adjustment with Red-Eyed Dice can also give us access to the different monsters, including our Winterbell to go into as well, just needing a tuner and a non-tuner wind monster, or even being able to go into cards like our Clear Wing Synchro Dragon for some of those other synchro plays also in the extra deck. And then for the rest of the main deck monsters, I'm running Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill for the hand trap spot, just because it is a wind monster, so less of a restriction if we do need to use this tuner in the deck in opposed to Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, but just a preference for what I use also. And for the spells, 3 copies of Windwitch Chimes. You target 1 Windwitch monster you control, special summon 1 Windwitch monster for the different name from your deck in defense position. You can activate Chimes once per turn. You cannot special summon monsters the turn you activate this effect, except for wind monsters. So just giving you a different special summon of a Windwitch monster can help this spell be the setup needed for grabbing that synchro monster if you only have, let's say, 1 or 2 Windwitch monsters in your hand. A lot of times you could have the Snowbell in your hand and another Windwitch monster, and just not have the means to summon out the resources on the field, so at least you can go for your search, or even it could be the one-of search, because you can use Glass Bell to grab your Snowbell, and then use Chimes to grab that second monster, and then have the special summon set up for your Snowbell on the field. And then for the other spells, 2 copies of Spellbook of Knowledge. Being able to send a spellcaster you control or 1 card for that, basically, from the field. If you have that additional spellcaster monster on the field, it can sometimes be more beneficial to go for a draw 2, instead of if you don't have the synchro play ready to go for it. That's why I like Spellbook of Knowledge for its draw power. And then also the 1 Miracle Synchro Fusion. This is so we can go into our Windwitch Fusion play in the deck and use the Winter Bell, which is the needed synchro monster to summon out with it, and then being able to go for more of a banish play with this card, thanks to being able to use cards from our graveyard as well to then be able to fusion summon out our Crystal Bell using those monsters. And then the 1 Mind Control for just more grabbing resources from our opponent to use, and the 1 Secret Village of the spellcasters, because we do run a good number of spellcasters in the deck, so having more of a spell shutdown play against our opponent to use with this card also, with the rest of our spells being the 2 copies of Forbidden Droplet, the 1 copy of 1 for 1, and the 1 copy of Call by the Grave. For some of the more generic spells in the deck, we have the level 1 targets in the form of Red Eye Dice, but also our Snowbell for some of the better cards to grab off of 1 for 1. For our traps, running 2 copies of Ice Breeze Refrain. You activate one of the following effects. Target 1 Windwitch monster you control in your graveyard. Special summon it in defense. And when your opponent activates a card effect in response to your Windwitch monster effect, negate that opponent's effect. So just being able to stop a card effect in response to our Windwitch monster's effect is a great targeted option, or just being able to grab a resource from our graveyard to use also. And then the 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, just a hand trap option along with our Ghost Mourner to be able to use on our opponent's turn also. For the extra deck, we're running 3 copies of Windwitch Winter Bell. One of the better setup cards in the deck, with it being a level 7 synchro, needing 1 tuner, 1 non-tuner wind monster. You can target 1 Windwitch monster in your graveyard, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that target's level, times 200. And during the battle phase quick effect, you can target 1 Windwitch monster you control, special summon 1 monster from your hand with a level less than or equal to that monster, but it cannot attack its turn. So the burn damage is a big thing that you can dwindle down your opponent with, thanks to Winter Bell, and just the ease to be able to summon out this synchro monster onto the field. The 1 copy of our Windwitch Diamond Bell. If it's synchro summon, you can target a Windwitch monster in your graveyard, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half of its attack, so even more bigger damage if we have some of our bigger Windwitch synchros that we use to build up into this monster as well. And once per turn, if your opponent takes battle damage or effect damage, you can target 1 card on the field and destroy it, having destruction on top of the burn damage it can inflict. Also 1 copy of Crystal Wing Clear Wing Synchro Dragon, the 2 copies of Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, once again being a pretty good level 8 monster to go into as our boss monster, and the 1 copy of Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon just got announced for the Megaton as well, so pretty awesome reprint there. The 1 Mistworm along with the 1 Stardust Charge Warrior and the 1 Stellar Wind Wolfrayet for the bigger synchro monsters to summon out in the deck also. And then for the rest of the extra deck, 1 copy of Greatfly, 1 Wind the Wind Chandler, the 1 Lightning Chidori, and then for our fusion monster, the Windwitch Crystal Bell, needing the Windwitch Winter Bell and 1 other Windwitch monster to be able to summon this card out. It's the Miracle Synchro Fusion play we go for. You can target a monster in your player's graveyard. To the end phase, this card's name becomes that target's original name, and we place that effect with that target's original effects. So you can copy one of your other Windwitch Synchro monsters. That's why we also run multiple copies of Winter Bell, so we at least have another copy in the graveyard to target with Crystal Bell to use. And then with this card also being able to target a Windwitch Winter Bell and 1 level 4 Windwitch monster in our graveyard and special summon those targets back onto the field also. And then as for some of the go-to plays, as I mentioned before, you have some pretty good setup with your Windwitch monsters being able to make use of your tuners, depending on the ones you summon out. For your summons in the deck, you can either go for your normal summon of Glassbell being your tuner monster to add a Windwitch monster from your deck to your hand. You can then use this card to grab our Freeze Bell. Freeze Bell can special summon itself onto the field as well. Then you have the option to either raise the level of Freeze Bell. If you do so, then you can go for your level 8 Synchro play of Diamond Bell, or if you stick with the level 7 play, you can go for your Winter Bell. The main play also is if you have your level 1 Snow Bell, since you control the 2 Windwitch monsters, leave it out on the field first, special summon out your Winter Bell, then go for the level 7 Synchro play, having the burn damage for Winter Bell, and then the additional play to go into your Synchro of your level 8 Diamond Bell for more burn damage on top of that. And then from there, if you have the means for your spell being your Miracle Synchro Fusion, you can activate this, needing the banished being specifically your Winter Bell and the 1 additional Windwitch monster from the graveyard to get out your bigger fusion monster on top of that onto the field also. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Like I said, want to go through all of the, Yuzu Dimension counterparts from the Arc 5 series, and there are many different decks to be updated, and I will slowly, so look forward to it. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.